Welcome into Redacted. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we tend to cover the stories the mainstream media largely ignores. And we've got a bombshell story that we're going to be watching for you today, which is the DOJ strike force now in place to go after Obama, Clinton, the rest of that merry band of criminals. And exactly what do they know about the Russian collusion hoax? How do they know it? Where do they keep this information hidden in a vault away from the American public? Matt Taibbi, great journalist, is going to be joining us here on the show to talk about that.
We're also going to talk about how the Trump administration has got Columbia to come to its knees because it made Jewish students uncomfortable. They are expanding their demands for speech restriction, and Columbia capitulated. So we're going to talk about how this is having a chilling effect on political speech in the United States. Where do you think this is going?
We're also going to talk about Trump slashing IRS members, 25,000 there, and will we lose income taxes finally? And also geoengineering, it's getting worse. Why are these companies admitting, yes, we're doing cloud seeding, we're doing geoengineering? Then when we have these flash floods, which we've seen all up and down the East Coast, we saw them in the Rocky Mountains over the past few days, more flash floods, wildfires that are burning out of control. Where is the accountability on all of this? We're going to talk about that a little bit later in today's show. So let us know where you're joining us from. Yes, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. That's so sad to see that. Someone in the chat, thank you for your $20 super chat. And I like this. JRG Project says, hey, rest in peace to Hulk Hogan. It's a catch-22 for bodybuilders. You're a monster when you're young, but you end up going before your time. The ancient Greek ideal of fitness was designed for longevity. Modern gym culture is Roman. I've never heard that before. Modern gym culture is Roman. But the idea of fitness longevity is from ancient Greek ideals. And so therefore, these guys are all, crazy. They die in their 60s or 70s, or early 70s.
Well,
that's too young. 71? Come on.
Yes. Okay. I don't feel equipped to opine on the history.
I'm sad about Hulk Hogan, though. Great American.
I did, in fact, in college, take a course called History of Sport, and we learned about the Olympics. It used to be legal to bite and punch and kick and use brass knuckles, and it was a fight to the death.
We got to bring that back. That's better than the breakdancing bullshit that we saw at the last Olympics.
I quite enjoyed that. I got many hours of memes out of that.
I want to see biting again. Let's bring that back. All right, we've got a lot of news to get to here on your Thursday, so thank you guys so much for subscribing and being a part of our great community. We really appreciate to the tens of thousands of you that watch us live and the millions of you that watch us every month. We thank you very much. So very, very, very kind of you to do that. Well,
now we have some breaking news out of France, and I want to sort of just quickly let you know this, that the state of France, the country, has decided to recognize Palestine as a state. The state of Palestine. Now, this is not something I thought that would actually happen out of European leaders and Western leaders. And so credit where credit is due. Emmanuel Macron has actually done it and submitted this to the United Nations, which will cause disruption in the coming days because the United States had begged them not to do it. So we're going to be watching that story over the weekend.
All right, there we go. So he can walk and chew gum at the same time. Sue Candace Owens at the same time declare.
I mean, look, let's let him have this, right? Let's let him have this over and apart from this. These are people who deserve to have their existence verified and validated. So, we almost never give credit to world leaders, and we're going to do that without an asterisk. Can you do that, Clayton?
I can. All right.
Okay.
Let's get into it, though. All right. Well, it was worse than we thought. Those are the words of journalist Matt Taibbi, who says the Russian collusion hoax was built on 4 pieces of faulty evidence from the very beginning. He just wrote this bombshell new report. In brutal document release, the Russia hoax is finally exposed. So are the walls finally closing in on President Obama and Hillary Clinton? Will there be any arrests? There's the DOJ under Pam Bondi has set up a strike force officially targeting Obama, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and Hillary Clinton for charges of treason. Journalist Matt Taibbi joins us now. Welcome to the show, Matt. Great to have you here. The first time, actually, I think, on Redacted. So one of the great journalists of the world, Matt. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. So I wanted you to go through your new bombshell report that you just published. You say it was worse than we thought. Maybe you could lay the groundwork for here. Like, what did we think? And then how is it worse than we thought?
Well, I guess the best way to describe this is the Washington Post earlier this week said that, Tulsi Gabbard was incorrect. The director of national intelligence to say that there was some kind of conspiracy, that there was no case, that Russia had favored Trump in the 2016 election, and that actually, they didn't fake it, but they got there through careful investigative work. And to a degree, I have been writing about this hidden House Intelligence Committee report about the process by which the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA delivered the whole, Putin preferred Trump narrative in early 2017. We've known about that report for a long time. It's been locked in the CIA for ages, but we thought there would be some real stuff in there in addition to the Steele dossier. But when we open it up, we find out that the conclusion that Russia interfered to help Donald Trump specifically really rested on nonsense. Actually, in each case, it was discarded already rejected intelligence, and they also suppressed a boatload of real intelligence that kind of looked in the other direction. So it's worse than I thought. I thought there would be a couple of real things in there suggesting that Russia actually really wanted Trump as president, but in reality, it was pretty consistent across the board that they were indifferent on that question.
The suppression piece, I want to follow up on that. The amount of evidence that they suppressed, maybe you could give us some of the highlights of what they suppressed that's pretty egregious, really exculpatory evidence, right?
Yeah, and this is one of the things that's amazing. When you go through this report, the first thing that will strike you is you'll ask yourself the question, wow, the CIA didn't appear to have a whole lot of really good intelligence on Russia generally. They were relying on these little fragments, bits of published reports, third and fourth hand accounts, unattributable sentences, but they did have a couple of real things. Like, for instance, they had significant intelligence from a, quote, confidant of Vladimir Putin, who told them explicitly that he quoted Putin himself on the question they were supposed to be investigating. Putin said that he didn't care who won either way. He regularly pointed out the flaws of both candidates, and he said that no matter who won the election, he believed that Russia was well positioned to outmaneuver either one. That's the word, outmaneuver. So that's not in the report somehow. Now, it's not like journalism. You can't just sort of make a case in a prosecutorial way and selectively leave stuff out if you feel like it. It's not editorial, in other words. This is an intelligence report. You're supposed to give everybody the whole picture, and they left a lot of stuff like that out.
Now, you speak about journalism, and I can't help but think of the NPR whistleblower who specifically said that Russiagate was like catnip to us in the newsroom. They refused to look at evidence that was exculpatory. One of the main things that you'll see when you look at this story is that Christopher Steele had previously been looking into Russian collusion for FIFA World Cup, didn't find it there, and then just kind of replayed the hits in a crappy way. And it's taken us now years to figure out that that was just dumb. And it makes me think of the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter saying babies in incubators. Like, why does it take us so long to be able to collectively come around to this dumb manipulation?
I mean, I think it's political, frankly. In this case, if it had been in our interest to say that Christopher Steele was not a reliable source and that he was using subsources who, the FBI pretty early found out, for instance, that the P-tape story was not real, that it was, quote, made in jest by people who were sitting around having conversations over beers. These are direct quotes. They learned this as early as January and February of 2017. And yet, you had James Comey going up and testifying with that grave face before Congress, announcing the existence of an investigation into Donald Trump while Adam Schiff read out after he read out the P-tape stuff. It's incredible, that they do this. And it's obviously a political decision that they made to suppress certain things and to highlight others.
really one of the biggest offenders here is Director of the CIA, John Brennan. Can you walk us through exactly? I mean, he had CIA authors basically objecting, and he's like, no, your objections are not worthy. I'm going to stick them back in here to shove them back. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so it's even worse than I wrote, actually, because the intelligence community assessment of 2017 that said that Putin favored Trump and that he wanted to help him win the election, that was not like the WMD report in 2003. The WMD thing was what they call an NIE, a National Intelligence Estimate, which is a big formal document that includes all 17 agencies, intelligence agencies, and has a number of safeguards to prevent, for instance, the inclusion of bad evidence and the overlooking of good evidence. This was what they call an intelligence community assessment. It's just an informal document where they told us it was 3 agencies, the NSA, FBI, and CIA. In fact, as we learned, we only learned this week that it was only just the CIA, and it was a hand-picked team by John Brennan. It was 5 authors that he picked, his favorite people, to write this report. And even they balked in the end. They came to him and they said, we do not have direct proof that Putin favored Trump. We can't write that. They tried to leave out certain evidence. He personally stuck it back in. When they went to him about the Steele dossier and said, we can't use this stuff, it does not meet even the most basic tradecraft standards. The quote in the report is that Brennan said, well, at least it rings true. Rings
true. That is unbelievable. Yes, yeah. It rings true. It's false, but it rings true. It rings true to our fake narrative that we've been creating and pushing out in the mainstream media, the Mockingbird media. It rings true. I mean,
so therefore we can treasonous. Manipulate people. As somebody who followed Rachel Maddow every night from 2017 into 2019, believing that the Trump administration was going to crumble under this corruption, every single night, I feel incredibly manipulated that A, she didn't do the journalism, and B, this came from government propaganda.
Yeah, I don't know how after the WMD episode, anybody in television could pick up the phone. Remember, this happened instantaneously, right? So the Obama administration, we now learn, decided on December 9th to order this new assessment. That very night, they started leaking to papers like the Washington Post, and instantaneously there were these stories. Putin tried to help Trump in the election. Rachel just grabs that Washington Post story, goes on air with it, and starts running with this narrative that it was a conspiracy and that, Trump was in league with, with all of these people. And, you would think that the networks would have learned their lesson after 2003, that, you can't get over skis with unnamed intelligence sources. Like, it's just not a good business to be in.
Yeah, you would have thought Christopher Steele was a hero based on MSNBC's coverage of this. I want to ask you, what happens if these people are prosecuted? Because
Comey, Brennan, Hillary,
I see a lot of people
Obama
saying you can't do this because it would become another George Floyd moment for the left. But Trump supporters had to watch their favored candidate, President Trump, be prosecuted by the Justice Department. So do you think that Democrats would coalesce around Obama, even though he's not a candidate? None of these people are running for office, but would it fire them up in the same way?
If it were Obama, maybe, but I can see if they, we know they've opened criminal investigations into Brennan and Comey. Brennan is a deeply unlikable figure. I can see easily even the sort of ruling Brahmins of the intelligence community. I can see them throwing him overboard easily, and it would be hard for me to imagine an organic movement of people getting out in the street to support John Brennan. I just don't think the architect.
I don't know. I mean, Chuck Schumer it wouldn't put it past a guy like Chuck Schumer to come out and support a guy like Brennan. I mean, how bad is it? Do you think, this criminal investigation, do you think there's enough there that we're going to see these guys walking in handcuffs at some point?
Well, that's the big question, right? Like, I've been told for a couple of weeks now that they're looking at various versions of conspiracy charges and that they think they have enough to go to a prosecutor or maybe call for a special prosecutor. But what conspiracy to do what? It's not clear, right? Like there are some things that look obvious, like there are some perjury issues that seem pretty clear cut. But perjury, the bell's tolled on that. The statute of limitations is already up. So it would have to be some kind of ongoing pattern of conduct. I've heard some things about, for instance, some as yet unreported issues with surveillance during the Biden years that might be tied to some of this Russiagate stuff. But it would have to be pretty creatively done. And we don't know all the facts there yet. So, without seeing the full Monty, like what they've showed us so far, I don't know what the crime is so far.
Right.
As one of my sources told me, it's like there's no law in the books against what they did. Like there's no law against inventing history. So
well, they invented laws in New York City to go after President Trump. Maybe they'll invent a law here to.
Well, no, actually, the payment for the Steele dossier that came out of campaign finance is the same thing that President Trump was prosecuted for the Stormy Daniels non-disclosure agreement. So this is not an equal justice under the law, but I don't know if I want to go through that again, because the Stormy Daniels case was so taxing and maybe not the best use of our Justice Department.
Or as David in our team says, what about election interference? Actually trying to throw a U.S. presidential election. I mean,
well, by that time he had already been elected, I believe. What we're talking about, the majority of this corruption.
This would have been an ongoing process, though. I mean, because the conduct here goes back to at least the middle of 2016,
Yes.
for some of them, right? So, but I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I certainly don't know anything about election law, so it's not clear what the charges would be. But I think my understanding is that they're looking in another direction for something more serious, but they don't have it, I don't think, yet. But they're clearly trying for it. Like, I think they understand it's not a public relations issue anymore, that they have to get charges.
Yeah.
Matt Taibbi, great reporting as always. Great to have you finally here on the show from Racket News. Matt, great to see you. Thank you so much for your
One of
great
our
work.
favorite independent voices. We've been keen to talk to you for a long time. It's really a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for your bravery.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Take care.
You bet. Thanks, Matt. All right, fascinating. All right, we got more news to get to coming up.
We're going to talk about how Columbia University has paid to silence dissent. That's interesting. The federal government now has a right to police political speech. We're going to talk to someone from FIRE, which is the free speech organization. One of my favorites. If you are a free speech advocate, make sure you follow them online. But before we do that, we want to tell you about our friends over at Genucel, because, hey, it's summer. And of course, you can easily forget to moisturize your skin. And then you have these visible dark marks, these sunspots, other blemishes that the sun leaves behind, unless you're using the dark spot corrector from our friends over at Genucel. It visibly fades away dark marks, sunspots, scars, and other signs of discoloration all over your skin. Formulated with the patented LumaSkin, which is a revolutionary new ingredient, and Genucel's legendary base, shown to visibly reduce age spots, sunspots, and have a brighter tone for a more youthful look. You'll be amazed at how quickly you'll see results. And right now, you can enjoy your summer sun, beach barbecue without those pesky sunspots. So you can get your dark spot corrector with every Genucel complete skincare package for over 70% off if you enter our promo code Redacted at checkout for that extra discount. It's guaranteed or your money back. So head on over to Genucel.com/redacted and use the code Redacted. One more time, that's Genucel.com/redacted. Using the code Redacted, and you get that free spa box with 2 bonus gifts plus free shipping.
Tam McIntosh in our chat says, Redacted, bring on Whitney Webb on your show. Oh, Whitney's a good friend of our show. She's been on many, many times here. You can look at our deep dive interviews on Epstein way back, going back years, actually. We actually reached out to her recently to have her on, but she's been on family leave for a little while. She had family visiting and everything, so she had
a baby. That baby visited her outside the womb.
So, she's going to be hopefully here. She's going to be back with us soon, we hope. So we'd love to have Whitney back on the show.
And best of luck to her and her new baby. All right. Well, Columbia University caved to the Trump administration, giving the government the right to make speech restrictive demands of universities. Now, this should scare you. Columbia did not admit wrongdoing, but they settled with the federal government for $200 million plus $20 million to Jewish employees because the school made the staff that was Jewish uncomfortable. Well, how did they do that? By allowing protesters to criticize Israel, which the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance defines as anti-Semitism now. They say any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic in their controversial working definition. Now, this case is a landmine of First Amendment, Title VI, and cultural overreach issues. So joining us to discuss is Robert Shibley. He's the special counsel for the campus advocacy at The Fire, which is a free speech advocacy group, one of my favorites. Thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell me how you feel about this? What does this $200 million settlement signal to universities now across the country?
Yeah, and thank you for having me. I think what it signals is that there's now a price tag in dealing with the administration when you are going through these kind of Title VI or anti-Semitism investigations. It signals that, I think Columbia and other universities believe they have a fair amount of liability when it comes to the way they've treated. And I think it's important that in these settlements, you can't distinguish what is the concerns about anti-Semitism from the concerns about discrimination in hiring and in admissions too. And so this settlement at Columbia is this sort of overarching settlement that covers all of those different areas. And it does signal that the government has gotten, is taking a very hard line on this. What's really unfortunate is how far out of the regulatory scheme that's appointed for this by law by Congress, the administration has gone in order to punish Columbia like this, and it suggests they're going to be willing to do so with many more universities in the future.
And so talk to me about this expansion of Title VI, because now the Department of Education is saying that Title VI includes anti-Semitism. So they use this logic to investigate universities where Jewish students allege that they feel harassed or even have to hear or even see. They've defined this as seeing graffiti criticizing Israel. So this is new territory. Instead of targeting threats or slurs, the DOE is saying we will target political expressions if someone claims that it makes them feel uncomfortable. So this is an unprecedented power for the government to punish political ideas, don't you think?
Well, it's interesting. There is some precedent for this in terms of the abuses that we saw of Title IX to silence people with dissenting views on campuses about sex or gender. And so we saw over the years with Title IX stuff, this sort of mix between the government deciding that they are going to find a university to have violated Title IX, not just because somebody was actually engaging in sex discrimination, but also because people, either they or other people around them, et cetera, were saying things that were considered to be offensive, but were actually protected by the First Amendment. And now we're seeing that slip over into this Title VI area. And, while Title VI deals with race, color, and national origin, it's since I think around 2003 or 4, actually, the government under both parties has determined that they believe anti-Semitism falls within its restrictions, and so you have a lot of sort of complicated legal things that are they're being built one on the top of the next by like a Jenga tower, and you're seeing just how much power where the government ends up with by the time done interpreting everything. And I think it is, pretty alarming if you care about the independence of colleges and universities, who, by the way, have not covered themselves in glory in any way. I mean, obviously there are lots of abuses on campus. That's why fire is around, right? But this is not the right way to handle it.
Right. At Columbia, Harvard, these are not high in FIRE's free speech ranking. If you go to their website and see which universities you might actually consider sending your child to if you want them to be a free thinker. We're not defending them, right? But we also don't defend that the government has a say. One of the things that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said in his idea about free speech and Columbia was that he wanted control over Middle East studies. That was in his actual press release, that we need to make sure that the way that Middle East studies is not done in a way that might increase anti-Semitism. I don't think anyone would ever want the government setting academic curricula, right?
Yeah, I think that is a real concern. And even though they sort of start out this settlement by saying, oh, we promise the United States has no power over the curriculum, over hiring, et cetera, they did agree, for instance, to appoint some new faculty members with joint positions in the Institute for Israel and Jewish Studies. They have a new, I think, senior vice provost who's supposed to make sure things are more politically balanced, et cetera. So it is a fairly intrusive method of trying to guarantee this, especially when they're stepping in with actual faculty now, as opposed to what we've unfortunately seen in the past so much, which is sort of indoctrinating students through orientation or trainings or, these sexual harassment seminars where you have to, say everything that happens is a form of harassment, even if it's actually constitutionally protected. And so, yeah, I mean, it's this continued sort of bipartisan slide towards federalizing and making, all kinds of dissent illegal on campus.
Now, Greg Lukianoff, he talks a lot in his books about the cult of safetyism. And that's the idea that students should be shielded from discomfort at all costs. Now, I know you're a lawyer and not a social scientist, but don't you think this settlement with Columbia represents a dangerous expansion of that mindset where discomfort alone, not only when you tell kids that they shouldn't ever be uncomfortable, then they get more anxious because they think the world is always a threat. But then also this justifies censorship and legal action. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real concern because part of the point of political protest is to send a message, and sometimes it can be a message where you're saying that we don't like X belief, whatever that is. We're upset with this or that policy, and you're trying to send the message that it's not going to be you as a person are not going to tolerate it, et cetera. It understandably makes people very uncomfortable when that sort of takes on an ethnic tinge, as I think it tends to do whenever you're dealing with the Israeli-Palestinian issue. But what it does mean is if you're going to say that just that discomfort of seeing those protests, even when they're over and over again, or experiencing them, and I'm not talking about people who there are charges here of people being assaulted, people being limited from different things. I mean, there are legitimate grievances everybody has, but the idea that I have to see a protest, that should figure into some sort of federally prohibited harassment is really dangerous because it's an excuse to ban any kind of protest.
Yeah, I find that chilling. And I think it's worth asking, why do only Jewish students have the right to not be uncomfortable when there were pro-Palestinian students who were detained and harassed as well? And there's no advocacy on their part, and they are surely uncomfortable too. And some of them were assaulted. So does this give them a case now where they can raise their hand and say, what about us? Do we get any settlement? What about, what do we do there?
Well, I mean, it certainly should. If you are going to have a rule for one group, it needs to be the same rule for every group. And obviously, concerns about anti-Semitism are what's been driving this latest sort of expansion in the power of Title VI. But I mean, it actually often when the government talks about anti-Semitism, it links it with Islamophobia, or however you put that. And so I do think that there's a possibility that this is going to lead to an arms race among everybody saying, well, you know what, I would like things that make me uncomfortable to be prohibited or punished or somehow limited as well. And the end of that is that everybody's afraid to talk about any important issues. So that's why it's always important to try to limit the road you're going down when that's the case.
Yeah. We have this comment that says, they were blocking pathways to class and things like that. And FIRE makes a very clear distinction is you cannot disrupt learning. You have to abide by the law. But the law already protects this without this extra protection of motivation for why you're doing it. You can't do it full stop, right? And so can you you make that crystal clear in almost every communication that you put out on your website and on your X, but maybe you can just say it one more time for the back of the room.
Part of because people have become so accustomed to thinking along the lines of harassment and discrimination is that people don't realize that a lot of the things that are the most upsetting when there's violence involved, when people are blocked, when there's a building takeover and they won't leave and you're hassling the janitors and that kind of things, which all were things that were factors at Columbia. Columbia actually had the power to put a stop to those things, regardless of who was doing it or the reason they're doing it. And unfortunately, colleges can be very uneven in the way they enforce their own rules. And, they do that, unfortunately, on sort of a basis of political popularity very often. And so, or they'll do what they think is easiest at the time. And so, if it's easier to let people take over a building for a while, even if it's really inconvenient and disruptive, they might allow that to happen. And by doing that, they've set up this problem where everybody demands with some, you can sort of understand it. Well, if they get to take over a building, why isn't it okay when I do it? And you're off to the races again with this. This race towards calling everything discrimination and instead of just enforcing the rules that we already have, which are already on the books, which would serve just as well in the vast majority of the cases that really upset people.
Right. I mean, it's kind of funny because Columbia doesn't know how to enforce their own laws because they're such a haven of liberal acceptance of everything, right? And so,
well, yeah, I mean,
there
Columbia
you go.
Because of their history with protests, I mean, they actually had a very strong taboo about, for instance, bringing in the NYPD when a building was taken over. And, unfortunately, because they were so reluctant to bring in law enforcement when it would have been when it probably would have been easier to end things peacefully, they ended up, sort of replicating a police raid from, the 1960s. On actually the actual exact same day of the year in the same building. So, if you don't have the courage of your convictions, if you're not willing to enforce your own rules, well, that either means your rules are not good and you should change the rules, or it means that, you are not enforcing them correctly. And then how do people know what is actually okay and what's not? And Columbia and Harvard and other universities have really, I think, learned that lesson the hard way in the last couple of years.
Right. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. You can follow The Fire at thefire.org, also on X. And would you like to give us your personal handle? We can follow that too.
Yeah, you can follow me at R. Shibley on Twitter or X.
Excellent. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your expertise.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about whether or not President Trump is going to end the Fed. He is visiting the Federal Reserve as we speak. Why is he going there?
I'm watching right now. He's literally standing there with a hard hat on telling us, he's like, I don't know how, he's like, we built this hotel. We didn't have to deal with all this garbage. Like, how is this for billions of dollars? We have to build this new Fed building. Pretty funny.
Okay, we're going to talk about
But
that.
we're also going to talk about the IRS, because over the past 24 hours, we've seen the massive slashes at the IRS. And will we see income taxes actually killed off? I mean, they are illegal after all. Many people wondering, is the Trump administration about to slash income taxes and get rid of that totally?
Indeed. But before we do that, we want to tell you about our friends over at Chapter, because, hey, if you're on Medicare or about to become on Medicare, you need to look into our friends over at Chapter, because they can help you choose between the buffet of plans out there that are purposely confusing. It's really hard to understand what will fit your needs. Do you need a supplement? What does that even mean? Well, that's why we trust Chapter, because if you are confused, well, then big insurance companies can steer you into overpriced plans that pump their profits, maybe not the best for you. Chapter is an advocate, not for the insurance company, but for you. They don't push high commission plans. They just search every single option that will work for you and your family. Our friend made one simple call, and it was a 30-minute call, no stress, no sales pitch, walked away with a plan that they really liked, saving thousands, full coverage. So it's not just him. People in our audience have told us that they also have used Chapter. So if you or a loved one is about to get on Medicare, then take a look at Chapter. Give them a call, completely free. The average person who works with them saves over $1,100 a year. So if you're turning 65, or even if you're already on Medicare, give them a call. Call the number on your screen. That's 202-655-5811, or go to askchapter.org/redacted. One more time, that's askchapter.org/redacted.
Well, is President Trump about to get rid of income taxes altogether? Fingers crossed, as President Trump just fired 25% of the IRS staff. What about the Federal Reserve? Will we see any major changes at the Fed? Right now, as we speak, President Trump is there at the Federal Reserve wearing a hard hat, looking at the construction of the new multi-billion-dollar Fed building. Like, who's paying for that? By the way, the White House posted this image online suggesting that President Trump's visit to the Federal Reserve today will be eyeballs. They just put eyeballs. See that? What does that even mean? Just eyeballs. We're looking at this. What exactly does that mean? The president wants to fire Fed Chief Jerome Powell, and he kind of walks it back. Then he says, yes, I think he should be fired. Then he walks it back. Like, what's going on over there? It's unusual for a sitting president to visit the Fed. It's an unelected criminal cabal. Like, why do we even have it in the first place? Well, someone who doesn't want the Fed to exist at all is Chris Rossini. He's written the book Set Money Free, What Every American Needs to Know About the Federal Reserve. It is a criminal organization. He's a senior fellow at the Ron Paul Institute, author of this great book, and Chris joins us now. Chris, great to see you. First, let's talk about the Fed piece of this. Then maybe we can unpack a little bit of the income tax IRS part. But what is the president doing over there? What do you expect to see at the Fed today?
Sorry about that. He's probably going to shake down the Fed chairman that he wants, that to resign or to fire. I don't know whether or not he can fire him. I don't know what their rules are. If he could get away with it, I'm sure he would fire him, because that's how our government works. They don't really care about the rules if they could get away with something. And as we've talked about before when I was on, neither of these two individuals know what interest rates should be any more than I do or you do. Interest rates should be set by the marketplace, like many other prices, most prices. If you think of like the shares of Tesla, if you wanted to go buy Tesla, sell Tesla shares, or not touch them at all, there's always a market there, and it's always coming up with the price. I think the most recent price was $305. So wouldn't it be strange if President Trump says, no, it should be $350, and Powell says, no, it should be $250? We would laugh them, off the block. Neither of you know what the price should be, because you're price fixing. And that causes lots of economic problems. So that's what they do with interest rates. They have their own interests in why they want interest rates up or down. The president wants low interest rates because he believes that it would create a fake prosperity, like we saw with the dot-com bubble, the housing bubble. So he would love a fake prosperity that he can take credit for. And the Federal Reserve Chairman, his primary objective is to take care of the biggest banks. So he's thinking of them first. Trump is thinking of his administration first. Neither of this should exist. It should be market prices setting interest rates, and we would have a much better economic life as citizens of this country.
Yes, but the Federal Reserve clearly didn't invite President Trump because they are used to being left alone to pervert global markets to their whim. And it's clear that Jerome Powell doesn't want to hang out with President Trump. So, you know, this eyeball emoji that they posted suggested to us that President Trump, like daddy was coming and you guys were all in trouble. Is there anything to intimate out of that?
Well, we know that President Trump is a showman first and foremost. If I was to say what the real totem pole is, it is Jerome Powell is at the top of the totem pole, much more powerful than the president. But the president can garner public support. He can garner. I saw Howard Lutnick called for Powell to step down also, so he can get support that Powell doesn't have. He doesn't have the PR that Trump does, but Powell is much more powerful than Trump. That's another reason why we shouldn't have a central bank. Yeah, Trump wants to influence it to get what he wants, and what he wants is not necessarily what I want. I don't want higher prices and more inflation. I'm paying enough with my bills everywhere, but Trump wants lower interest rates artificially, so that more money could be pumped into the system, which will lead to even higher prices than we have today.
And endless wars, as well. As Peter St. Onge said on our show, the Fed acts as the VC of every new war. So as long as we have them, we can continue to supply weapons and money abroad as much as we want. So
can I ask you, before we talk about the IRS, Chris, I want to ask you about what happened last week and how it relates to the Fed and the digital dollar. You obviously saw this move with the Genius Act towards stable coins. Is this like the digital takeover of our entire economy now, where the tracking, all of that will follow suit as it relates to these stable coins, the U.S. dollar being tied to stable coins and banks being able to issue stable coins? And so, the digital surveillance state, what did you make of that? And how does this maybe connect to the Fed?
Well, the first thing I noticed was the name of it, that it's anti-CBDC and surveillance, which we don't want the government to do. But we also don't want private companies to do it. And that's what what stablecoins are. Stablecoins are just as programmable. They can be taken away from you. They could be frozen. They could program it to where if the government doesn't like what you are doing or saying, or if they don't like what you're buying, they could program the stable coin in your wallet to freeze you out, so to speak. That's just as bad as a CBDC. It's just privately done. That's what we have with the Federal Reserve. Oh, the government doesn't print any money. The Fed does it. Yeah, a private bank, so-called. So it's the same thing. It's surveillance and through private entities, which will be tied to the government. And I believe they are tying them to the government by forcing them to buy government bonds. So yeah, right. It's bad, So
let's just hope that Palantir runs the whole thing, that they're in charge, yeah. And then we'll be good to go. The IRS, Chris. So slashing 25% of the workforce, essentially. There's been a lot of questions, and President Trump has repeatedly kind of talked about eliminating income taxes. What do you see happening at the IRS? Do you believe we will see income taxes finally killed off?
I mean, that would be wonderful, of course. I mean, the most important thing is to look at the whole picture. I want my taxes to go down. I want my standard of living to go up. I want the same for all U.S. citizens. I want the government's power to go down and their income to drop. If they just shuffle the chairs, and I don't really care how many IRS agents there are if I'm going to be paying more, whether there's 5,000, 4,500, it may look good. Look, we got rid of all these jobs, but we're still taking in much more money. And the government has already promised they're going to run up the debt, run up the deficit. It's all going up. So they're just maybe putting lipstick on a pig by, oh, look, we're cutting these jobs. There's less IRS agents. That sounds good. But are our tax bills going to go down? No. Is our standard of living going to go up? If you really hustle, it'll go up. But they're not going to make it easy for us. So, that's the most important part. Is the IRS going to be gone someday? President Trump, you never know. He promised to end the Ukraine war. He's extending the Ukraine war. He promised the Epstein files. He's covering up for Epstein. So you never know with him. What he says from one minute to the next can't be taken seriously. Only when it actually happens can you say, okay, this is the truth of the matter.
I mean, I think he would go down as one of the greatest presidents. If he eliminated income taxes and called it out for what it is, a criminal, it's illegal. That'd be amazing. If he did something crazy with the Fed, I would be happy to eat my own words.
Yes, but candidate Trump is very different than President Trump, the same way, Clayton was different before we got married. It's, everybody's different when you're courting. Not that he's not wonderful to be married to right now.
My hair's a little gray now.
We're making our guest uncomfortable. But I do want to say that now he said this week, I'm thinking about eliminating the capital gains tax. He can think about it all he wants. Congress has to do it, and we don't see an appetite there, do we?
No, I at least haven't seen such a thing. Again, that would be great. But we're ruled by headlines and, how people feel in the moment. So they know that if they say something, they'll look good in the moment. If people feel good for that day, and they really have to come through on it with anything, because the next day it'll just be something else. So until they actually do these things, until the income tax is actually gone, we can hope for it. We could always push for it, but it's not done until it's done.
Yeah. Chris Rossini, always great to see you. Thank you for your level-headed approach to all of this. And we'll see. Trump is there with the cameras, wearing a white helmet right now at the Fed. It's clearly about showmanship, but I would love it. I would love it if he would just want to stick it to the Fed, just close him down, shut him down, make me very, very happy.
Yeah, we're sharing that as a fantasy, though. I think the three of us, none of us really think it will happen right now.
I would love to pay less in income taxes too. Chris, great to see you. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks as always.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about geoengineering, manipulation. Again, there are multiple companies across the country who are geoengineering weather manipulation. We've seen flash floods. We've seen all sorts of chemicals in our food supply. Look what just happened to Texas. Oh, there's blue rain falling on people's tents. And yes, there was geoengineering in the days before the massive flooding, but no, the government says, and the fact checkers, it had nothing to do with the devastating floods in Texas. Right. Okay, sure. Well, our next guest has some thoughts on all of that and what it's been doing to our food supply on top of that with all of these chemicals. But first, I'm telling you right now, the U.S. is on a dangerous path. You just heard what Chris was talking about as it relates to stable coins and moving the U.S. dollar towards that. I've been warning about that for a couple of years now on the show that, yes, the U.S. dollar is in decline. So one way to try to Hail Mary save it is to tie it to crypto, is to tie it to stable coins. That way you have a one-for-one U.S. dollar-backed reserve currency, and that's the way to kind of hold on to this U.S. reserve currency. But China, Russia, Brazil, India, all of the BRICS nations are moving quickly away from the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency, trading in local currencies, buying up gold, buying up silver as much as they can. So if your future, your family's future is tied to the U.S. dollar, it's going to continue to lose value. As Chris just pointed out, I mean, our dollar is going way, it's not reaching the same levels that it used to. Our dollars are being stretched. Think about like the 1990s, even just a few decades ago, your purchasing power. It's taking up to 38 years old now to be able to buy a house in this country. What can you do about this? I've been teaching my 14-year-old son, he's about to turn 15 this weekend, about buying metals. And he's like, Daddy, how can I take some of my savings and actually start buying some metals? And I was teaching him about silver and gold. And we actually connected him with our team at Lear Capital because that's who we use to start buying, if you've got $50, maybe converting that to silver and putting that in a safe and being able to protect you and your family from here on out. That's what our friends at Lear Capital can help you do. They can help you invest in precious metals. All you need to do is give them a call. They're a fantastic American company. Jump on the phone with them. I love American companies that actually want to talk to us, not be outsourced to India somewhere where you're talking to some call center. No, you can talk to an American company. They've helped thousands of our viewers start to invest in precious minerals. 1-800-613 is the place to go. 3557. 1-800-613-3557. Write it down and just get on the phone with them. They will send you a free precious metals investing guide, and you can sit down with your spouse, your loved ones, and talk about it. There's no pressure. You can make a decision. hey, that $1,000 that we have sitting in US dollars, maybe we want to convert that to gold or silver. They will help you do that. And they can even help you open up a self-directed IRA if you'd like as well. Very, very simple to do. Or just go to the website, learredacted.com. And if you do that, you can get up to $15,000 in free bonus metals with a qualified purchase. So just ask them about that. Again, learredacted.com, or call them, 1-800-613-3557. All right, let's talk about geoengineering. Let's talk about cloud seeding and the problem that won't go away. The government likes to tell us that we're crazy. They like to tell us that this is not happening, that you're an idiot, or that fact checkers will tell us that this is not happening, that you're an idiot. The liberal media will tell us that this is not happening, that's not affecting our food supply. We've spoken to Dane Wigington here on the show from geoengineeringwatch.org. He's laid it all out for us, but they continue to tell us that we're idiots. Well, we now have proof from a number of states, Texas, California, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming, New Mexico, North Dakota, blasting chemicals into the sky to force rain, creating snow, suppressing hail, creating rain where there shouldn't be rain, flash floods. We saw the flash flood devastation in Texas, of course, horrible just a few weeks ago that killed so many individuals there, raging waters that came out of nowhere. And yes, there was chemicals being sprayed into the atmosphere near this area. But you're just a conspiracy theorist if you believe that, right? You're foolish if you believe that. Well, someone who, first of all, I believe it. Call me a conspiracy theorist. Call me a nut. The data is in, and the amount of chemicals that are in our food supply and ruining our bodies is now, it's now irrefutable. Kim Bright is is a co-founder of Bright Core Nutrition. She has spent her career pushing to make America healthy again, long before we even heard the term "make America healthy again." And Kim has gone viral over the past couple of days for talking about this geoengineering and all of these chemicals that have been sprayed into our atmosphere and demanding answers. So I wanted to have Kim back on the show to talk about this because, Kim, they continue to call us nutcases for saying that this is happening. What do you say to them?
I've been being called a nutcase for, half a century. Okay, but 30 years, I've been studying this kind of stuff. And, Clayton, thanks for having me back. But here's the deal. I like to deal in simplicity and truth. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. It's scary. And people don't know what to do when you hit them with the truth. But the truth is, look up something called HAARP. Go to Rumble. Anybody out there, look it up. And this thing is in Alaska, was backed by DARPA, Navy, and the Air Force. Back 1993, they built it. I had a friend, actually, who was up in that area, and big old lumberjack guy, friend, and he told me a story that they actually flooded the area because people wouldn't leave the small town where they were building this. I don't know if that's true. He told me that. But yeah, and they had guns, and they built these towers of these antennas, 180 antennas with trailers by them. Now, what this is, these are what it's called HAARP because it's High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Okay, look it up. And they're actually ionosphere heaters, is what they are. They heat the ionosphere up to 50,000 degrees. Okay, now. Chemtrails, real safe. Simple. What?
That seems safe.
That seems real safe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that was under the tutelage of who I just said, the Navy, Air Force, and DARPA, until they cut back funding in 2014. Then it's been handed over to the University of Alaska. The thing about this is when these disturb the ionosphere, and supposedly they're just studying the ionosphere because they need it for the radio waves and to, have them go all over the world. Well, when you do this, you are really creating havoc because when you mix it with the chemtrails, what happens is these magnetic waves hit the chemtrails, and then they create, and you're heating the atmosphere to such a degree. And I'm not a scientist. I've just been looking into this for 30 years and studying it and trying to understand all this painting in the sky. It certainly wasn't there when I was a child. And weird clouds and the formations. I mean, if you look up what I said, you will see the creations that they've seen all over the world. They almost look like UFOs in some areas, where it looks like a hole and then there's a thing around it, and it looks like a UFO. And people have reported them as UFOs. And then you'll see these waves going through the chemtrails sometimes, and that's right before these big storms. You know, in Japan, they can cause earthquakes, supposedly. They, the earthquake in Japan supposedly was that. Katrina. Different things. But let me tell you where these things are all over the world. And by the way, do you ever remember LBJ stating, "He who controls the weather controls the world"?
I didn't remember that was his quote, but of course we saw what happened in Vietnam and with the weather manipulation that, of course, led to the bombing deaths. They got stuck in the mud as a result of that, and it was all part of this project under LBJ. Right?
Look it up. I think there's a video somewhere. Look it up, see if you can find it. But I've seen it. And then Defense Secretary William Cohen warned of the dangers of eco-terrorism back in the 90s. Now, here's where these different ionosphere heaters are located. You can look these up too. Brazil, Peru, Long Island, Area 51. Oh, go figure. Puerto Rico. There's one near Fairbanks, Alaska, in the UK, China, India, Japan, Australia. Now, the one in Norway is called European Incoherent Scatter Radar. That's EISCAT, EISCAT. And we've got them near Moscow, in the Ukraine. And it's supposedly for study of the ionosphere. But interestingly enough, these things leave no trace. Just like, in Texas. Oh, what happened there? Yeah, there's a little company. A guy came on Fox News. I think you played that clip, and was trying to convince Will that on the Will Kane show that nothing here to see. But look who he works with. We got to pull the string. Got to pull the string back and find out who's behind these people, and why are they doing it? And look at where it is now. It's what is starting to be harvested soon. Corn, soybeans. Where are these storms going, Clayton? Over Iowa. I think that's farmland. And if you can create enough chaos, and again, we all have to ask ourselves, why is somebody doing this? And I think there's a lot of different answers of why somebody's doing this, but we all have to.
We have the confirmation. We have the confirmation of these companies in all of these different states, and we've had flash flooding in Colorado over the past couple of days. Colorado, where it doesn't really rain at all. I mean, it's the sunniest state in the country. Yep. Yes, even more than Florida. It's the sunniest state in the country, and you know it. You were born in Colorado. How much do you remember it raining? Flash floods
we used
on a
to
regular
say there
basis.
was like 352 days or 332 days. I don't remember. That used to be sun, So yeah, it is the sunniest state. But no, the whole thing here is we got some weird crap going on, and everybody's got to start looking into it and confront it. And even the other day, EPA, Lee Zeldin, secretary, he's like kind of diverting to, oh, no. They're contrails. They come out of, the airplanes that fly you and, to different places. They're still trying to cover up that there is something called chemtrails. And that, this is definitely something that is just awful and terrible. And
you fought your whole career. I mean, you pushed your whole career for a healthy food supply. I mean, that's what you've done. That's as long as I've known you. That's what you've been doing. So we talk about the chemicals here. I mean, like I said, we've had Dane Wigington on the show to talk about the aluminum, these different chemicals that are in the food supply.
Yeah, they're falling out of the sky from the chemtrails, aluminum, barium. And when you get enough aluminum in the soil, the roots can't stand. That's why we've got trees falling over. That's why you see the beetles invading in Colorado and killing all the pine trees back, 15 years ago in different mountain areas and in different other areas. Everything's being weakened. The roots of everything that's alive are being weakened by all of this chemical dump. And then we've got the microplastics being dumped on us too, So it's weakening our gut. It's weakening our soil, which is our microbiome in our gut. And, now, Clayton, they've got this new study that just came out from the University of Florida where they're trying to vaccinate everybody against cancer. Well, if you just take care of your gut microbiome, this is where what I truly believe is God gave us the things, the plants and everything on the earth to make us healthy. And you look at what is causing you to not feel well. You don't go treat the symptom, which is what Western medicine does. Time and place for Western medicine. You got a broken leg, you need Western medicine. But, even Robert Malone, Dr. Robert Malone, he discovered the mRNA, the messenger RNA. And he even says it's not a good platform. And now they're studying this to try and they put it into mice in order to go after their individual tumors. And then now we're going to use this in humans. Go to the cause of why you have a tumor. Why do you want more drugs? And they're hailing this like, oh, well, then you don't have to use chemo and you don't have to use radiation and you don't have to have surgery. But they're going to use this in conjunction with other cancer drugs. So here we are. You either are going to have to decide. It's just like right now. We're dealing with good and bad in this world. And I'm not saying Western medicine is bad. I'm saying a lot of it you don't need if you want to get at the cause of things and take care of your gut, which is all where your health starts or your sickness starts. And so when you're going to substitute, now you're going to put mRNA in, which Discover says is not a good platform anyway, to address your individual tumors. They make it sound really great. Why don't you just take care of your microbiome? Why don't you just beef up your own immune system? Because they're saying, here's his direct quote, these vaccinations, one of the doctors, Elias Sayor, he's an MD, PhD, and an oncologist in pediatrics at University of Florida. He says, and I quote, these vaccinations could be commercialized to universal cancer vaccinations to sensitize the immune system against patients' individual tumors. What's the key word there, Clayton, that you hear? Commercialize. That's
well, they're going to make as much money as they possibly can.
That's right. It's all about the money. And it's being funded by NIH and other federal agencies and foundations. Who are these foundations? I haven't had the time to look into that, but somebody might want to look into that and see. You pull the string to find out where the money starts. You pull the string down and find out where the money starts. And the reason why people want everybody to go get vaccinated, just like they did with COVID. So what is really the reason behind all this? All you've got to do is take care of your gut microbiome. It's real simple. Pull it down to simplicity. The simplicity there is you got good guys and bad guys in your gut. If the bad guys overpopulate, you're going to get cancer. You're going to get sick. You're going to have heart disease, diabetes, overweight. If you take care of the good guys, they help balance out the whole body and help keep the body healthy and keep out the predators and the parasites, yeast, molds, and funguses. That's a simplicity. It's a choice. So that's where we are.
I was just reading the chat here, and Otis Rules in our chat says Kimchi One really works. Highly recommend. I wasn't going to do this, but your Kimchi One is what you guys make at Bright Core Nutrition. Love it. I take it every day. It's fantastic for your gut biome, detox your body. If you guys actually will answer the phone if someone calls you guys and actually wants to order some of your Kimchi One stuff. Is that right?
Yes, we will. We sure will. And it's going to help you get rid of those microplastics. It has special bacteria in there. Yes. And it's definitely going to help you a lot in this onslaught of what we're dealing with.
Well, I take it every day. I'll put the 800 number up on the screen here. It's 888-404-6312. Give them a call. Talk to Kim's team. She's been doing this for 50 years. And finally, we're turning the corner now on actually making America healthy again. Kim, I'll get you out of here on this. We saw we saw Robert Kennedy over the past few weeks making some big victories. I have to say, of all of like the Trump related network right now, it seems like the major victories are coming out of RFK Jr. It seems like they're coming out of HHS. Like, say what you will about the Epstein files, say what you will about the Fed and stable coins and all of that garbage right now, but I mean, I think what you've been fighting for seems to, we've seen the most victories here. You have to be pretty encouraged.
I'm very encouraged. I mean, his intention is real and true. He's been doing this his whole life, just like I have. And that's the whole thing behind it. What is your intention? What's your true intention? And he has exposed the whole thing with the taking the organs in people that were still alive.
We just covered that on the show, the organ harvesting. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's disgusting, right? But he's diving right in. I mean, I am so proud of him. I've never met him, but he's sent from God, he's there and he's doing it. He's going to get a lot of things accomplished for us. And thank God he's there. Thank God he's there. But, that's
dyes in the food and everything else. And
he's got a swamp to clean up that is just miles deep. And it's going to take all of us to make sure that we know what health is really about, and we have to make the decisions not to utilize those things that are bad for us, that aren't going to cause health in us. So definitely.
Well, and he knows about the chemtrails. I mean, he's been briefed on it. I know that so he knows, and we have now movement, at least in this regard, to try to shine a light on this. I don't know what there's this like sort of pushback internally right now, but hopefully cooler heads can prevail. Kim Bright, thank you so much. Great to see you as always, and thank you for holding truth to power, as always. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.
And we have breaking news about this because now HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has signed off on a recommendation to remove mercury-based preservatives from flu vaccines in the United States. So his statement says that after more than 2 decades of delay, this action fulfills a long overdue promise to protect our most vulnerable populations from unnecessary mercury exposure. What this is saying...
Why was mercury in there in the first place?
As a preservative, I believe. Now, it looks like it's only to the flu vaccine from all influenza vaccines.
So just influenza vaccines at the moment.
I don't think I'm looking at his statement right now.
So this is just breaking from HHS.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he is recommending this removal from all influenza vaccines. So we know it exists in other vaccines as well. He is only addressing the flu vaccine. So, okay. Well, we'll look into that further and report that as it breaks.
Yeah, and of course, HHS ordering the reform of the organ donation program over the past 48 hours so that they are not disregarding the sanctity of life for organ transplant systems. So anyway, some victories at least at HHS, as we're all like frustrated about like Epstein files and Russia collusion hoax. Will we see anybody actually arrested and perp walked on all of this? But all right.
Anyhow.
All right, we have, so yes, we're going to take some of your super chats here and do some Rumble Premium in just a moment. But first...
There's no but first.
Oh, there's not a but first?
Yeah,
okay, well, let's
no
do
but
that.
First, no.
Oh, I just clicked on the wrong rundown
But
here.
nothing.
All right, let us, thank you guys so much for subscribing to the show. We really appreciate it. And being a part of our great community here, I really appreciate that. And thank you guys for subscribing to the daily newsletter. If you go to redacted.inc, you can actually subscribe to our daily newsletter, which we publish, Monday through Thursday. Natalie works really hard to write it. Go to redacted.inc, put in your email address. You will receive the newsletter, or you'll receive a welcome email. You just need to go to your junk folder. It might go there. Gmail labels us as dangerous because they're scared of us. I don't know. And then just move it over. And then move it over to your inbox and say, yes, I do want to subscribe. And you'll receive it Monday through Thursday. You can read it in about 5 or 10 minutes over your cup of coffee. I really liked the thing in the newsletter today about the banana perfume. Mm-hmm. I kind of like, I was the guy that liked the runts. You ever had the runts, the candy runts?
Yep.
And I would always like to eat the bananas. So I actually probably appreciate that.
I don't think banana perfume. You eat them?
The banana runs?
The banana runs? Hell yeah.
You like
Banana
those? Would you like
high chews are
banana
the best.
scented?
Which ones?
High chews, he says.
Banana high chews.
Is that like a mamba?
Yeah,
Oh, I've never tried that.
kind of similar. But the banana
Because I won't
ones
eat the
are
banana
deep.
mambas.
I know what those are, banana mambas.
I don't eat
And
mambas.
Is there a banana mamba? Actually, now that I think, I'm pretty sure there is. Let me ask ChatGPT.
Hey, thanks to the 37,000 of you watching us right now on Rumble. Thank you guys for subscribing. We really appreciate that and being a part of our community here. We have no agenda on this show. I should just underline.
Is. Just needed to let you know that breaking news.
All right. I was going to say we have no agenda here on this show. I think our mantra is like get uncomfortable, because sometimes, we're going to be shining a light on things that might upend your worldview. Like, oh, you're a huge Trump supporter? Well, here we're going to show you some things that might make you a little upset. Oh, you're a huge Hillary Clinton supporter? We're going to show you some things that might make you upset. You love both party, you love Republicans and Democrats. Well, we're going to show you that they're actually a uniparty. It might make you wildly uncomfortable. So we have no agenda here on the show other than the truth. So thank you guys so much for being a part of our great community. We really appreciate it. Yeah. All right. So we're going to open up to Rumble Premium now.
Before we do that, can I say two things?
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I want to let you know that I have two events that I'm going to be attending in the upcoming weeks and months. And if you would like to join me there, you are free to. If you head on over to the Ron Paul Institute, it's ronpaulinstitute.org. You'll see at the top, it's Blueprint for Peace. I believe you can use the code Redacted and get a discount on your ticket, but I'll be speaking there with Max Blumenthal and Anya Parampil, I think is how you say your name, and other great speakers. And I'm really excited about that. So if you would like to join us, please do check that out at ronpaulinstitute.org. Also, I'm not a speaker, but I will be attending the Pacific Atrocities Education. That's in San Francisco in the Presidio, September 18th. So the first one is August 18th or 16th, August 16th, and the other one is August 18th. And if you'd like to meet up there, let me know. If you're going to be in either of those places, we'd love to meet you.
That's right.
It's Natalie
I have
on
a quick
tour.
butt first.
Oh.
Okay.
So you might find this interesting. When you were talking about Lear Capital and the dollar, I was talking to a friend here, and when she was, I think she said she was like 10 years old, she was paying 5 baht for a candy bar, right? Which is about 16 cents. And she said, and now she's in her 30s, and she's like, yeah, and it's gone up in price. She said it's now 6 baht, which is like 3 cents increase in that amount of time. Think about how much we used to get things for when we were a kid. I remember going to the store and getting like, a little bag of those chocolate coins for like 10 cents. And now those things are probably like $6. So just think about the difference. And she's like, oh, its price has gone up. I'm like,
my friends and I used to go to the mall, and we'd go, then go to the arcade and go to a movie or whatever, and we'd go get a bag of runts from the candy shop or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably like nothing. Hardly
75 cents for a Nestle Crunch. That was my poison.
Yeah. And now, I used to run over to Mr. Food in Reading, Pennsylvania, ride my bike over there with my friends and get a Twix, peanut butter Twix, which, by the way, is the far superior Twix. I don't know why they don't really make them very much.
Yes.
Anytime you see a Twix, it's always that caramel Twix. Like, what the hell is that about?
And it has to be eaten the peanut butter
cents.
off the top first, and then you eat the cookie afterwards.
Yes.
It's the only way to eat a
So
peanut
you
butter
get
Twix.
it.
No.
That, and when you wash it down with a Jolt Cola. Man, the 1980s were the
Hell
best.
yeah.
This
Hell
is
yeah, brother.
Jolt Cola and a Twix.
Diabetes Central.
Yes.
I'm
50
with you on the
cents
Twix,
for
but-
my Twix, 50 cents for my Jolt Cola, and I was good to go for the rest of the afternoon.
Okay,
That was
so
my senior
we're
year
going
of high
to.
school. Oh, my senior year of high school, every day for lunch, I ate 2 peanut butter Twix. Every single day. That was all I ate for lunch.
Why you're thin as a rail.
I saw a meme that said my daughter trying to figure out how to get her Sephora makeup and boba tea for $7 when, in high school I was scraping together quarters for a bean burrito at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
That is truth, my friend. Truth.
So,
Okay, so we're going to
yeah.
say goodbye to you on YouTube. We will see you next week. Please be here. We'll have content throughout the weekend. And then we will be live with Rumble Premium subscribers only on our Rumble channel. So goodbye to those of you who
Well,
are
come on
not
over.
that.
Yeah, come- well,
or come over.
Come on over. Just go to rumble.com/premium and just hang out with us for a little bit. We're just going to chit chat on this Thursday and hang out because we want to give back to Rumble. They are a free speech platform. And so it's our way of giving back and just saying, hey, check out rumble.com/premium. As you know, I don't know if you saw that YouTube just got rid of 7,000 YouTube channels for some of them, who knows? I don't even know. They just decided to shut them down. Rumble doesn't do that. Rumble is a free speech platform. So come on over and support rumble.com/premium. And if you use our code Redacted, I think you get it for $10, or you save $10. So come on over and hang out with us now on this
Thursday. It's Thursday.
Yeah. All right. Come on over, everyone. Come on over. And thanks to our YouTube audience. Bye, everyone. All right. It's Rumble Premium time.